is so very nice that y'all came out. It's so nice to be here. Thank you, Ben and Eileen and Chris and Mary and all the many people of Calvary that it takes to pull this 40 days off. It's an amazing feat. So thank you for coming today. So on my phone every morning, I have this thing that shows up on my calendar that says, find more joy. I've been doing this for several months now, and it comes in about 7:15. If I'm lucky, I've had a few sips of coffee. If I'm lucky, the lunches are packed. If I'm lucky, the boys are up and they are eating, probably not dressed yet. It is a long time from that 7:15 until that 7:45 where we are then at that point, could you please put your shoes on for the 900th time, wondering, isn't there a way to do this differently? We have not found that way. So my way is to be reminded in the midst of all this, find more joy. It's been an ongoing quest that Jarad and I have been as we suddenly found ourselves, not suddenly, but we found ourselves with 3 children, wondering what on earth are we doing? We've been told how that works since then. So 3 children and finding ourselves mired down in a way that we did not expect ourselves to be. Finding ourselves more serious, more disciplinarian than we ever expected ourselves to be, and less giggly, less silly, less, that's okay, honey, I love you. So since we've been sleeping now for a year or 2 mostly, why aren't we that? How do we get there? How do we bring the giggles into our home? How do we parent from a place that is pure delight and joy and teach our children that and respond accordingly? That's been our personal quest. Our professional quest has been, how do we do that in the church? How do we help the church move from what we sometimes feel that they are living out of scarcity? That we church, that we preach, that we make decisions out of scarcity. That we sit in the pews and wonder about the pledge that we will or will not give that week. That those who are doing the pledge campaigns wonder how many warm bodies will come next Sunday. And if they don't, who will fill those pews next generation? We have an abundant God. We have a God that has given us a rich narrative of abundance, that loves abundantly, that love manifested in our world can actually heal. That is the theology that we want to work out of. That is the theology that we hope for our church and our pew sitters. Not fear, not scarcity. That's an affront to our God. It's an affront to our children, and it is no good for our neighbors and our neighborhoods. So as Ben mentioned, I was Vandy trained, Vanderbilt Divinity School, which is a lot less like the Commodores than it is kind of like communists. So I was trained pretty much that to preach Christianity as an all-in thing. I mean, all in. I was taught to preach the Acts of the Apostles kind of in, give it all away, even though we really don't know how to do that at all. But I was taught that's what you preach, to not just break bread at the altar or the table, but to break bread together every morning and every evening so there is enough bread for all of us. And then came nursing babies. And then came year after year after year of no sleep. Hundreds of bloodied knees by this point. Moving into life a little bit beyond my reach and my means, and I was found myself as sort of an American modern middle class survivalist. Some days, joyfully, But clearly I found myself diminished in energy and creativity. So things began to shift. I began to see the possibility of the small, the simple, the doable. In some ways, that actually, in practice, began here at Calvary. As I found my job here, my place, my role was to move among the halls and the people lightly. It wasn't my denomination. I could do that. To move a little more freely than I perhaps had done as a Presbyterian, as I played Episcopalian. I began to look for ways to just invite people, constantly invite people to engage or re-engage, to infuse some energy here or there. Hey, this week we're going to bring 100 pairs of socks and give them away at the breakfast community. Because it's great to have a clean pair of socks with no holes in when you are walking the streets for your food, shelter, and safety and job. I mean, heck, my kids would like to see some in their drawers right now instead of the couch where all the laundry is. Just to invite. It doesn't solve all the problems, but it's an invitation. Oh, and this week we're going to try something really fun. All of us in this room, we're going to try Navy showers. Anybody know what a Navy shower is? You turn the water on, 30 seconds rinse, you turn it off, you soap, you shampoo, turn the water back on, you rinse, and you do not repeat. But why would we do that? Because it takes like 3 gallons of water versus like a 60-gallon water, 10-minute shower. And why do we care? Because there is a water shortage in our world, even if we in Memphis don't feel it. Ways to invite. I have a 4-year-old daughter who's, I'm very grateful to say, whose fingers are still cushioned with a bit of baby fat. She asked to walk across the street to the little library to exchange a book. She's a dancing, singing, lightsaber-carrying princess, full of simple delights. Why focus on the little for me? Because she has taught me the beauty of it. Because her feet are this big. So I came to know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a sprite for God was my first phrase. When is somebody going to hire me to be a pixie, I wondered. When is somebody going to let me do delightful things for our city? When is someone going to recognize that I can be playful and joyful and bring hope, moving around? When at Calvary we took ashes to the streets, walking down Main in flowing robes and our burnt palm leaves, it was hilarious. It was ridiculous. It was wonderful. So why not show up in Court Square to wash some tired feet? Or bring mosquito spray and popsicles on a hot day in July? Or go tree planting on Tuesday at 7th and Looney? Or put a sign on a chalk chain link fence that says love, then another, give, share, play. Show up anywhere and everywhere with tools and bright colors and a joyful heart. One of my heroes from Nashville, Becca Stevens, who spoke here a couple weeks ago, she's figured out that even in the most despairing, darkest situations, in the greatest deserts of your life, if you do a little bit of kindness and a little bit of beauty, it makes a difference. I now have a job that lets me do a little kindness and a little beauty. Albeit it's in secular terms, so it's been a slight transition, moving from professional clergy world to professional civic planning world. Really, the main hiccup has been, and nobody else knows this yet, that in that meeting, when it's about to start, I have to suppress the desire to open with prayer. Though, to be perfectly honest, the Episcopalians began to break me of that habit. I love that man. has a title even, Creative Placemaker, and Word does not even understand the spelling of placemaker. Therefore, I know it's a perfect fit. It's about making our cities and our neighborhoods and our blocks more livable, to begin to see ourselves as assets, as solution makers. We know this idea, those of us who grew up in Sunday school. We're told our then fat little chubby hands are the hands of God. So I'm going to take my lawnmower before the grass on the empty lot gets to be 6 feet high and rats are crawling everywhere and I'm spending my day calling the city complain. And I'm going to ask my neighbor to bring her weed eater and we're going to go cut it. And then we're going to put some chairs on it and a grill and have some popsicles for the kids who are playing in the street. And then we're going to build a fence and make a sculpture and put up a bottle tree and hang some wind chimes from that tree in the back corner. And then we're going to put out a soccer goal and maybe a ginkgo tree. For the kingdom of heaven is there waiting for the making among us. We live in a city with at least 3,000 lots listed in the Shelby County Land Bank, with a blight rate of 22%. Where kids walking down Boston Avenue in the Beltline on the way to Hanley Elementary go past 17 vacant houses, as many blighted lots, 2 gang houses, 1 liquor store, and just to finish it all up, through one of the darkest, narrowest tunnels you've ever seen. And then every day, they get to do the reverse on the way home. It's big. It's bigger than our reach most days. So Jeremiah made the worst real estate investment ever. Buying property while in jail in a city that he knew was about to be conquered and the people were going to be displaced. We are Memphis. We know challenges. We know generational poverty. We know ill health. We understand what low literacy rates do. And here lies the genius of the text. These limits of war and hunger, these limits are the flawed but raw materials of change. Because you see, each of us, we are created beings, bound in a body, bound in a garden. If we take that seriously and allow ourselves to be embodied, to be home in our bodies, then we will be home on our blocks, and our neighborhoods, and in our city. And from there, we can allow God to be God so she can do whatever she wants, however she wants to. And we are freed up to do what we can do, to offer wild hope or faith or madness or whatever it was that Jeremiah had. That thing is where we can be free. You see, I'm as limited as far as my hand can reach. I can reach all the way into that sidewalk and pull those weeds. I can reach all the way out there and pick up that trash that I walk by every day. Or wave to my neighbor and re-envision my city in tire chairs, bright bus stops and chalk designs. This is my place. And it offers me an opportunity, block by block, one broken piece of me at a time. It's like Lenten discipline for me this year. It's like my prayer. I'm seeing anew through it. But you all know that these ideas are not the property of theology. That's my entry point. But everyone has their access. It could be sociology, it could be health, it could be children, it could be homeless people, it could be the environment. Jeremiah buys land that is about to be vacated and occupied. And he makes this beautiful public legal display of it. He weighs out the 17 shekels. He signs the deed in front of witnesses, makes a copy, seals it, and places them in earthenware jars. The lot that Jeremiah bought is from the town of Anathoth. From the lore of Jeremiah, we know that is the town Jeremiah grew up in. That is the town where before he became the prophet of gloom and doom, he was a child. And I am sure children of that day do not live the way children of today do, but they still had to learn to walk. You still had to learn to talk, and perhaps some play along the way. All these years later, Jeremiah almost acts like a child again. Out of absurd hope and belief, he buys the land. So my kids, they can't even put their shoes up in the shoe rack that was custom built by their father. Our house is chaos, especially, I was never really a housekeeper, let's be honest, but since I've been back to work, not only does the refrigerator smell and look green, so does the laundry room. But I'm going to teach my children how to walk in our city. I'm going to teach them not just to have ideas, but to do those ideas, to feel strong and settled and in their body to do those ideas, to be their own Jeremiah on their own corner of land. So there's been a little bit of preaching, but here they call this a preaching series. So my very brief last paragraph, good old progressive liberal preaching. Fields shall be bought for money, and deeds shall be signed and sealed and witnessed. Murals shall be painted. Butterfly bushes shall be planted. Lots will be cleared, and benches will be made from the debris. Neighbors will gather on each other's porches and tell the stories of decades ago in the land of Benjamin and Smoky City, in the places around Jerusalem and Soulsville and Bartlett and on Foster Avenue, and in your neighborhood. Wherever that may be, so saith the Lord our God. Amen.